بل بالأدب تنال أعلى الرتب فعش حياة العلماء وقرأ صنوف الكتب.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لم يزل عليما حكيما، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد الذي أرسله للناس بشيرا ونذيرا، وعلى آل محمد وصحبه وسلم يا رب تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد، يعني بادئ ذي بدء أقول الإمام الذهبي رحمه الله mentioned that عكرمة مولى ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما أنه قال له يوما تكلم، فقال عكرمة: أتكلم وأنت جالس أبا العباس؟ قال: نعم، حتى إذا أخطأت قومتك، فأنا ما أتكلم اليوم بين يدي شيخنا إلا من هذا الباب. When Ikrimah radiallahu anhu, radiallahu an Ibn Abbas, when Ikrimah said, one time that Ibn Abbas asked me to talk in front of him. So I said, how could I talk when you're my teacher? How could I talk when you're sitting there? So Ibn Abbas said, so if you make mistake, I will correct you. So that's why I'm talking today. So forgive me for any mistake today to talk between my Shaykh's hands, inshallah, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him and grant him and us paradise. Allahumma ameen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال في كتابه: لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله واليوم الآخر وذكر الله كثيرا. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, He sent him as the best example for all of mankind, and for Muslims especially. So when Allah sent Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as an example that we have to follow, an example that we have to follow in our life and in everything that we do. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made a condition in the Quran, as Al-Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah, when he had a comment on the ayah, he said, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبُكُمُ اللَّهُ. Al-Hasan said, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala added that condition, if you claim that you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then follow me. Meaning Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Then follow the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam if you claim that you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So inshallah, as Muslims, this is our main goal, to follow Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, to gain the love of Allah. It's very easy that a Muslim would claim, or a person would claim that he loves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the ayah said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would love him. And this is what every one of us wants. Allah is love. We love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we love the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, so the condition must be fulfilled. Therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent us the Prophet, and He set him as an example. And the best example, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. But there is one description in the Quran, in a very small ayah, that the ulama said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has described the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam in everything, in his manners, in his characters, in everything. And the ayah, when we read it, and most of you inshallah memorize the ayah, Surah Al-Qalam. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى وإنك لعلى خلق عظيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and indeed you are for a great moral character. You have great manners, good manners. So this is the title of today. We're going to talk about good manners. Good manners that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked and emphasized in the Quran. Good manners that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in the hadith and emphasized it in the hadith. Our problem as Muslims in most of the society and communities, that we are lacking the good manners. With other Muslims first, or even with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before anything else. The good manners with the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam by following his sunnah. The good manners with other Muslims in the masjid, in the community. good-mannered with everyone else, even if they're not Muslims. We are lacking good manners. And this is the disease that we must find a medication for. Good manners when we deal with other people. And subhanAllah, how many countries became Muslims, and how you hear everyday stories about people who become Muslim because they see Muslim acting this way or that way. Now, why that not happening? Because the Muslims are lacking the path of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which Allah has described, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Having that good manners in you, without talking, without speaking, without giving lectures, you could change people's life. People could be guided through good manners. Other Muslims could return back to their deen because of your good manners. Every problem you could solve it with good manners. Families' issues between husband and wife could be solved easily with good manners, as we're going to see in the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Aisha radiallahu anha, the Prophet's wife, she was asked one day, and they asked her a question: how would you describe Rasulullah's manners? You need to describe Rasulullah's manners in words. So briefly, what she's going to say? She's going to tell all his life or the years that she lived with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. قالت عائشة رضي الله عنها كان خلقه القرآن. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's character and moral character was the Quran. That means that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to follow and obey every order from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, and stay away from anything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade upon him or told him and us to stay away from. That's what it means, Rasulullah's manners or good manners with the Quran. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam read the Quran, the Sahaba read the Quran, but they applied the Quran into their life. Today the Shaykh in Jum'ah, Jazawullah khairan, Shaykh Farouk, he gave a beautiful khutbah about how could we understand the Quran first and then apply the Quran into our life. And this again, what we're lacking. We're the best nation not because we came from here or there. We're the best nation because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had chosen this nation to carry the message of Allah, the Quran, and the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. So what is good manners? Good manners, as Imam al-Tirmidhi rahimahullah narrated, that Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak radiallahu anhu was asked, فقال حسن الخلق طلاقة الوجه وبذل المعروف وكف الأذى. Another narration, when Tirmidhi said, Ibn al-Mubarak was asked, what is good manners? So, what would you say? For the people who don't know Arabic, because they're going to translate what I said. So what would you say? If someone asks you, what is good manner? What would you say? The little ones first. What would you say? What is good manners? Huh?
Something that everybody can appreciate.
Okay, something that everybody could appreciate. Huh? What is good manners? How could you be good? How could you have good manners? What do you do? Huh? Be polite. One. Huh? Kind. Respect your parents. You learn from the khutbah. Were you here in the khutbah? MashaAllah. Huh?
Responsible.
Take responsibilities. MashaAllah.
Help other people.
Help other people. MashaAllah. ما نحتاج نتكلم خلاص احنا ربنا يحفظكم. He said, and listen to these brief words. He said, having friendly face and soft tongue. That's good manners. Friendly face. So when you see your other brother, the Muslim, you smile. A lot of Muslims don't do that nowadays. Or maybe smiling. Is smiling haram? Or the teeth is awrah? You see other Muslims, you smile, you greet them. Like you wish to see them. When they see you, they know that you want to see them. Not that you shake his hand and you turn around and shake somebody else's hand. You smile, friendly face. And this is the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that the Sahaba have never seen Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam except smiling. as the hadith narrated by Jabir, except smiling, having smiley face, friendly face, and a soft tongue, talking good, polite, talking with respect. Even in the advice, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He asked us to give advice, He said, give the best advice, because there is bad advice. There's a big difference between somebody telling you, why you don't pray, huh? And somebody telling you, brother, prayer is from the deen. It's very important. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help you to pray. You all know the story of Abdullah, and Abdullah is a name that they use for everybody. He came one day, he was walking to the masjid for dhuhr time. So there was a person on a palm tree collecting the dates. So he was very busy collecting the dates. So Abdullah is crossing by, it's dhuhr time. So he looked at him and said, hey, why didn't you get down? It's time for salah. Then he used bad words. And then he told him, you're acting like you can't hear now? You're acting dumb and stupid? So the man looked down and he said, who's that talking? Wallah, if I come down there, I'll beat you up. So Abdullah ran to the masjid. He's going to get beat up. So subhanallah, Asr time he came and he said, maybe I should change the way that I'm talking to this brother. So he found him in the same thing, on the palm tree collecting dates. So he came and he said, Ya akhi, jazakallah khair. I think it's time for the adhan is called now, and you're very busy with work. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help you. I know you want to feed your family. Same person. I know you want to feed your family. And you're doing a great work, but don't miss the salah. So the man came down and he said, is it time for salah? And he said, yes, it's time for salah. I think you didn't hear the adhan. So let's hurry up, inshallah, make wudu. May Allah bless you to catch the salah. So the man, he hugged him and he said, thank you for the reminder. I saw someone at dhuhr time. If I see him again, I'll kill him. It's the same person. The same person, but different tongue. Different way of advice. Good manners. People, they come with good manners just by smiling in their face. Nobody likes you to be tough. Nobody likes you to fight them. Nobody accepts the advice if you have arrogance. Nobody accepts the advice if you think you're better than them. So having good manners will solve all these problems. Al-Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah mentioned that there are two types of good manners. And he said, good manners are two. Good manners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you know that everything you do deserves what? Every act that you do to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deserves what from you? After you do the act, after you do the salah, the siyam, after you do the good deeds, deserves what? What do you think? This is from Allah to you, correct? Anything that comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to you deserves thanking. Well, alhamdulillah, whether it's good or a test. So anything that happens from Allah, you say, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, you thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for it. But for us, anything that we do for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deserves, especially you have that as a sunnah after the salah. What do we say after the salah? Right after the salah? So it deserves apology. Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. Why? Because you will never, anything that you do will not equal to one of the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you do sujood from the time that you're born to the time of death, it will not equal to a bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon you. Look at the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your life. Your kids, your wife, your house, your car, your husband, for the sisters. Now somebody could tell me now, well, you never know, the wife could be, the husband could be sometime a bounty and sometime. But it's a bounty from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a blessing from Allah. Oh, the brother might have a problem, huh? Alhamdulillah, your wife is here? No? Okay. So, anything that you do, it deserves apology. And anything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you with, deserves thanking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Good man, the second type is good manners between you and other people. By offering, doing good, saying good, increasing the good, and stopping the evil. So your neighbors, shouldn't harm them. Your friends, you shouldn't harm them. Your wife, your kids, you shouldn't harm them. Other people in the street, you shouldn't harm them. And then do the good. They need to see the good of you. As Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was sent as an example, and this is one of the best examples that we follow Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in. When dealing with Muslims and non-Muslims. When dealing with our relatives. Sometimes you pray and your relatives don't pray. Now good manners comes in. Not because you're better than them, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose you to come to the masjid, and inshallah Allah will help them to come with you to the masjid, by you. This is the thing that we mostly want people to be guided, but not through us. We don't want to do any work. We look at them, oh, somebody's doing something bad, oh, look at him. Subhanallah, you're pointing finger. كَذَلِكَ كُنْتُم مِّن قَبْلِ. That's how you were before. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَمَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمْ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed His bounty and blessing, and He has chosen you. That's why you're changed. So who should you thank? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. And your dua for other people. When they ask one of the imma, and someone stole, if I believe correctly, his camel, and it was very expensive. And you know, that at that time, camels were like what? Our time. Mercedes, say. Good camels. So, he said, they asked him, why you don't make dua against him? Why you don't make dua when he stole your camel? He said, Subhanallah, if he's rich, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help him to repent. And if he's poor, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provide him with more rizq so he could stop stealing from people. That's it. Now, you lose your wallet, maybe you left it at home. First thing, who took my wallet, huh? Where? The masjid or the brother? Subhanallah, why you have that in mind? Again, going back to good manners. And subhanallah, if you look in the Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, there is always a connection, there's always a tie between piety and good manners. If you look in the Sunnah, as if piety was the tree and good manners are its fruit. As if piety was the interaction. Nobody could see that. Piety and taqwa is between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking from you. But what is the outer action that people see is your manners. So mashallah, you could look good from the look, dress good, come to the masjid good, talk softly. But as soon as you deal with other people, now your manners will show. Is it good or bad? That's why you find also always the connection between these two in the Sunnah and the Quran. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam كما في صحيح مسلم من حديث النواس ابن سمعان رضي الله عنه قال سألت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن البر. I asked, Nawas رضي الله عنه said, I asked Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam about righteousness or piety. وَالْإِثْمِ and sin. I asked him, Ya Rasulullah, can you define both for me? فَقَالَ الْبِرُّ حُسْنُ الْخُلُقِ. Righteousness or piety is having good manners. وَالْإِثْمُ مَا حَاكَ فِي نَفْسِكَ وَكَرِهْتَ أَن يَطَّلِعَ عَلَيْهِ النَّاسِ. And the sin is that which evolves inside your chest and you hate people to know about it. So again, what is good manners? What is righteousness? Is having good manners. By the statement of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Like, the question now, can Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as you know when he explained piety and righteousness now, can you gain good manners from every act of worship? Yes or no? First. No, I don't like to give lectures. I like to talk and interact. I cannot sit in this chair. You know, my حقيقة يعني هذا أقولها لله. أنا ما تمنيت أبدا إلا أن أجلس بين يدي شيخنا يعني متعلما لا متكلما. And I always, I had a vision always to sit with Sheikh Walid and study with him and, benefit from him. Never to talk in front of him. So don't embarrass me. Let's talk together, inshallah. If we divide worship, let's take the 5 pillars of Islam. You know the 5 pillars, huh? What is it? What is the 5 pillars of Islam? He's not paying attention. What is the 5 pillars of Islam?
Shahada.
Salah.
Zakat. Hajj.
MashaAllah. Said, why you don't come? طيب, take Salah, Shahada, then Salah. What good manners does Salah teach you? Salah teaches what? Huh? MashaAllah. You're paying attention. If I had anything, I would give it to you. But only the pen. Salah teaches, stops you from evil and brings or orders you to do good. Salah teaches patience, to stand in the Salah. Salah teaches respect and humbleness. We are all the same. We stand in one line. There's no difference between you and me. There's no difference where I came from. No, there's no difference. In Salah, we are all the same. We stand facing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or facing our Qibla, standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, praying to one Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wa bihamd. Salah teaches importance of keeping your time. This is something that a lot of Muslims are lacking nowadays. You tell him, what time we're going to meet? 7 o'clock. Say 7 Muslim time or 7 your time. So 7 Muslim time, that means 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. No, Salah teaches you have to be on time. Because if you're not on time, you'll miss the Jama'ah. So it teaches you how to keep your time. Like Siyam teaches patience. The main thing, يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. Piety. And this is what we're gaining now. Again, the connection between good manners and piety. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Dharr asked, he said to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told Abu Dharr, اتق الله حيثما كنت. Fear Allah wherever you are. And follow a bad deed or a sin with a good deed. Therefore, it will erase it. Meaning the good deed will erase the bad deed. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, having that fear in your heart. Siyam will teach you that. Because when you fast or you abstain from what? Food, drink, and sexual intercourse, from any bad language, so on and so on. But nobody sees you. You could go to the kitchen and eat. No. You are, the relation or the connection now is between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Al-Hajj. Subhanallah, look how we dress for ihram. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us, all of us Hajj inshallah soon. We dress all the same. We do the same acts in the same place at the same time. There's no difference between a president or other. There's no difference between rich and poor. We are all the same. Teaches equality. Having good manners, you don't look, mashallah, pride. A lot of Muslims now, either because of their status or who they are or where they came from, they have pride. They're arrogant. Over what? Over what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, because of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. It's all from Allah and you will return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you look at any form of worship, you will always find that connection between piety and good manners that we're trying to seek, that we're trying to gain, so we could gain Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's love and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's love. يكفي كده ولا؟ طب احنا معانا للساعة كام يعني؟ طب مش لا كتير كمان يا ولاد احنا. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had the best manners, and inshallah we'll lay that to the end with it, inshallah. If we talk about good manners and we understand what is good manners, what to do, patience, politeness, respect, obeying, and so on and so on, it seems that it's always good to give the reward. And this is the, subhanAllah, the natural of the human. If you tell him, do this and I'll do this for you, he'll be able to do it easily. So we always give the reward of having good manners from the Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And first thing, and pay attention to this because I might ask a question, huh? First thing, that you succeed in dunya and in the hereafter. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. MashaAllah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, success in this life, or he has succeeded who does what? Who purifies, or who purifies it, meaning his soul. Purifying your soul by having good manners. Purifying your soul by being good in everything that you do. Why? Because it's an order from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to you to do that. It's an order to be good. It's an order to set good example wherever you go. So when people look at you, they know that this person is a Muslim. How many here are in high school? MashaAllah. College? Okay, good amount, MashaAllah. How we differentiate between a Muslim and a non-Muslim is by their act. So if Muslims are engaged in the society, which they have to, they go to school, they go to work, they go out, they buy things, they go everywhere. But the problem is that we're trying so much to look like or resemble the non-Muslims in many things, in the way we dress, in the way we talk, in the way we walk, in the way the hairstyle, everything. That it will come to a level where there is no difference between us and them. There is no difference between you and non-Muslim. Why? The problem, you're copying. And you have your deen that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed you with. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given it to you through Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So when people see you and they ask you, and this, I went to high school myself. I went in California, not Minnesota. And one of the things that was very common, and you all know in high school, most of them, or almost maybe 99%, they had girlfriends. Yes or no? Common, yeah. Everybody's saying yeah, and they're... I hope you don't have one. That's haram. So, most of them, when they ask why you didn't do the same thing, a lot of people, they be like, they are shy to say why. Or they go around the answer. You have to be very clear, because my deen says no. Because my religion, Allah and His Prophet says no. Because I am a Muslim and this is what my religion says. Be very clear. You're different because of your deen. Nothing else. Or else we could be from the same country, but we're not the same. We could be neighbors, but we're not the same. But I could be me and other brother who came from way in the east or the west, and we love each other for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who sit in the same place. Because what gathers us together? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. La ilaha illallah. The words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What gathers us today in this, mashallah, blessed masjid. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us and bless everyone here in this masjid. Ameen. We came all the way here from California to meet our brothers. To meet our sheikh first, then our brothers. To meet you and sit with you. Why? You're not from the same country. We're from Egypt. You're from where? Somalia, mashallah. Iraq, other places. Why we're gathered here today in this masjid? La ilaha illallah. So being different like this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking. So Allah is asking you to purify your soul from anything that's bad. Bad language. I hate it when I see a lot of kids in schools or outside. They use the language that I wouldn't even mention it in front of my father. Now they speak it. And the problem comes, sorry to say this, with the parents themselves. In our masjid, there was one kid. And he's about 3 years old. And subhanAllah, something happened to him. So he said, you know, they always, when something happened, what do you guys always say? See? Because everybody says, MashaAllah. That's what we, inshallah, that's what we're hoping to say. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, mashallah. But what would you say, usually, besides that?
I'd say damn.
I hear it, mashallah. See, this problem comes when one of the brother had a kid. And somebody called him. فقال, السلام عليكم. mashallah, what happened? Oh, my wife gave birth. قال, damn. قلت يا أخي, طب لماذا damn? Allah bless them, and you're saying damn. Why does that have to? There is no connection. I didn't tell you that he was thrown to hellfire. I said Allah blessed them with a kid. So instead of saying congratulations, mabruk, barakallah, you're saying that word. So these words you hear. So this kid, 3 years old, he fell or something happened to him. So I said, damn, and he screamed out. Then I was like, you shouldn't say that. Say Bismillah when you fall. I was teaching him, talking to him. His father was so happy. He said, no, let him. Alhamdulillah that he's speaking. Subhanallah. The problem starts here. The problem starts here. If you don't teach and raise correctly on good manners, don't blame your kid when he grows older and then he's using the same words against you. Not with other people. Because if he's going to be disrespectful to who first? His own parents first. Because that's where it starts and it's going to go back to the same place. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was asked, and back to the reward of good manners. So the first ayah, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered in the Quran, Surah Shams, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was asked. He said, they asked him, Ya Rasulullah, what will be the most to get us to paradise? Everyone here wants to go to paradise, inshallah. Inshallah? Qulu ameen.
Ameen.
Well, there's only paradise, and so inshallah we want to be on the paradise side, inshallah. So everyone wants to go to paradise. They asked Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, what is the most thing that will get us to paradise? الحديث عند الترمذي. يا رسول الله أو سئل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن أكثر ما يدخل الناس الجنة. The most that will get people to paradise. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, تقوى الله وحسن الخلق. Again, the connection. Taqwa Allah, having piety, fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and having good manners. These two things. Fearing Allah, have that fear in your heart. So when you do anything, you fear Allah. Is it right or wrong? No, you ask yourself. Before you do something, you say, is it right or wrong? So if it's right, then do it. And ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help you with it. And if it's wrong, then stay away from it and run away from it. Because it will lead you to hellfire. So leading to hellfire, that's not the path that the Muslim wants to take. Because our goal and our hope in life, and this is what we live for, to enter paradise. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant all of us paradise.
Ameen.
Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was asked in the same hadith, عن أكثر ما يدخل الناس النار. And the most that will get people to hellfire, so Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, الفم والفرج. Both, your tongue, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, your mouth, your tongue. What do we say? And why we say? And how we say? Is it for Allah? For show off? Do we say, or do we use the good words all the time? So when we have something coming from Allah that is good and a blessing from Allah, نقول Alhamdulillah. And when something coming from Allah as a test, we say Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. قدر الله وما شاء فعل. We use these terms. What is coming out of here? And wal-fard, your private, your desires. These two get people to hellfire. And according to other hadith, when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam held his tongue and he said, this will get people to hellfire. So, what will get people most to paradise? Good manners. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was asked in another hadith, narrated by Tirmidhi also, قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أكمل المؤمنين إيمانا أحسنهم خلقا وخياركم خيركم لنسائه. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, the most perfect men and or believers among you in iman, you want to have complete iman, complete faith. If you want so, who are these people? Rasulullah ﷺ said, the one who have perfect manners, good manners, complete good manners. If you want your iman to be complete, then have good manners. And the best among you is the best to his wives or his family. Best to his family, as Rasulullah ﷺ was best to his family. Best to his wife, best to your kids, best to your family, your father, your mother, everybody in your family. And especially your wife. Being good to her, having good manners, that she would only hear the good words from you. When you have a conflict, she knows that you won't raise your hand and hit her. She knows that you won't use bad language because you're polite. She knows that if she gets you angry, you will only be angry, nothing else. You will move on to the 911 step. Good manners. We learn that from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. If you want to be with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, if you want to be with him in paradise, then have good manners. النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم يقول كما عند الترمذي من حديث جابر قال إن من أحبكم إلي وأقربكم مني مجلسا يوم القيامة أحاسنكم أخلاقا. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, the nearest and the dearest to me in the day of resurrection are who? أحاسنكم أخلاقا, the ones who have good manners. You want to see Rasulullah or no? Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You want to not only see Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, but Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam قال أقربكم, nearest to me. Most beloved to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, because you are on the manners of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Because Rasulullah had the complete and the best manners that any man have seen. No one like Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That's why we learn from him. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him for us as a mercy. Send him for us as a teacher to learn, to benefit, to follow, to obey, and to respect. So if you want to be closer to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the day of resurrection, if you want to be close to Rasulullah, if you want to be more beloved to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, then have good manners. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم in the same hadith, وَإِنَّ أَبْغَضَكُمْ إِلَيَّ, and the one that is most hated to me, and he's going to be far away from Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الثرثارون والمتشدقون والمتفيهقون, those people who talk so much nonsense. Our gathering and the problem with what we say, again back to the tongue. We might sit with one another. You haven't seen a brother for a long time, so you sit with him 2, 3, 4 hours. After you finish, you could ask him, what have we talked about? Everything. We solved the earth problems. We talked about everything, but there is no benefit. Have we mentioned Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Have we mentioned Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Have we remind one another of the dhikr and the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Have we learned and benefit something, or was it only a talk? And those people who act, they are pride, or they have pride, and they are arrogant, those people, they will be far away from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam doesn't want to see them. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, they will be the most hated ones. Why? Because they looked at themselves that they are better than anyone else. And subhanallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us the same. A person will be better than someone else by taqwa, piety. Again, the connection. So you know yourself better than anyone. You want to be closer to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Deal with good, with everybody. And I'm not only, again, to emphasize, a lot of people, they think when we talk about good manners, that we're only saying that for the Muslims. Also the non-Muslims. When they see that of you, and they know that your religion orders you to do that, your neighbor, you're being good to him. When you don't make sound loud after, I don't know what time here, the latest is what? In California, 10 o'clock. If you make sound, they call the police. Here's what time? Maybe same?
It's about the same.
9. The problem is, you hear some Muslims, and I witness it myself. Of course, music, this is the first problem. Having music is the first problem. But it was so loud that their neighbors got irritated, and they called the police on them. And when the police came, and he looked at the person, he told the person, the owner of the house, he said, "Aren't you Muslim?" The man said, "Yes." He said, "First of all, isn't music? You guys don't listen to music. This is the first problem. A non-Muslim is telling the Muslim first that you don't listen to music. And if you do so, why is it so loud?" That relation with the neighbor is getting him away from the deen or closer to the deen? Away from the deen. Why? You never ask yourself, maybe people got away from the deen because of me. Maybe people got away from the deen because of my manners. Maybe people got away from the deen because of the way that I dealt with them. Maybe. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hold you responsible for that. And the more you bring to the deen, the more you get closer to the deen, you'll be rewarded for, as Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, you will come in the day of judgment with mountains of what? Good deeds you haven't done. But subhanallah, you were the reason that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to guide someone or to take someone from his hand on the straight path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything that he would do, you will be rewarded for. So having good manners will get you closer to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Imam Bukhari rahimahullah narrated في الأدب عن أبي الدرداء رضي الله عنه قال قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ما شيء أثقل في الميزان من حسن الخلق. There is nothing that will be in weight, and you know the scale in the day of judgment, it will weigh more than having good manners. Bringing good manners in your book that the angels are writing. Good manners, humbleness, sincerity. This is what we're lacking nowadays. Sincerity, ikhlas, very important. If every Muslim just take one of these manners, a lot of us know patience, sincerity, piety, humbleness, respect. Just practice once a week, one manner, one of these good manners. Say, this week, inshallah, everything will be for the sake of Allah, with sincerity. Everything that I will do will have, inshallah, ikhlas. I will renew my intention. Everything that I will do, it will be for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How many of us remember that when we pray? How many of us have that sincerity in his heart when you stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? When you come to the masjid, you come so people could see you. You help the masjid so people could say that you're generous. Or what? You act good in front of Muslims because they're going to look at, oh, Muhammad, mashallah, brother Muhammad, one of the best brothers who come to the masjid. Outside of the masjid, no, you're not Muhammad, you're Mo or Joe. You're still Muhammad. It's not by the name, it's the religion, it's the deen that you're following. So inside the masjid, you're the same person. Outside the masjid, you're the same person. So nothing will weigh more in the day of judgment in your scale than having good manners, as Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم قال أنا زعيم. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said that I guarantee a dwelling in the highest level of paradise, في أعلى مكان في الجنة. In the highest level of paradise. For who? Who would you think will have that place that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam guaranteed for him? And when Rasulullah guarantees something, it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because it was revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. وَمَا يَنطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. So the highest level that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam guaranteed, or Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, I guarantee a dwelling in the highest level in paradise for those who perfect their manners. Those who have good manners. Those who have good manners. These manners we have to practice. It's very easy to talk. It's very easy to give a lecture. It's very easy to advise people. But it's very hard to act upon that. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he mentioned that a man entered paradise and a woman entered hellfire. For what? What action were they doing? A man entered paradise because he fed a dog or gave some water to a dog to drink out of thirst. Allah sent them to paradise. He did it with sincerity. Nobody was seeing him. Good manners even to the animals. And a woman entered hellfire in what? Or for what? A cat. A cat. So imagine, she kept the cat, she didn't feed it. She didn't give it water till the cat died. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent her to hellfire. The other women, when the Sahaba came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they said, Ya Rasulullah, inna tusalli wa tatasaddaq wa tasuma. And they mentioned all good things. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam قال, hiya fi nar. She's in hellfire. Subhanallah, she prays. She gives sadaqah. But she's in hellfire. Why? Because she was bad to her neighbors. Bad to her neighbors. Isn't that our deen? This is our deen that we have to show to people. A lot of people, even in anywhere, even for Muslims or non-Muslims, when you go and you travel, you will hear all these people talking philosophy, and they also talk about everybody respect and likes good manners. Correct or incorrect? Dr. Sabir Kathir, everybody, good manners is a good thing. Everybody agree on that. Nobody disagree. They will respect the person who have good manners, and they would disrespect the person who have bad manners. Everywhere. But the problem, they do it because they want to look good. We do it because we want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the difference. Again, ikhlas. We do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be pleased with us. Therefore, we follow the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have these good manners like our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. So one of the good manners that inshallah we agree to practice, everyone could pick one, from respect, obeying one parents, humbleness, any good manner that you would think of, keeping your ties with your kingship, any good manner that you will think, or that you have, or that you like to practice this week, let's agree to it, inshallah. Sure. Everyone, just pick one. Just pick one. At least for salah, when you come, have sincerity. Okay, when you come for the masjid, why did you come today? Huh? Dinner? MashaAllah. Dinner, matalan. No, I know. Joking. Why did you come today? MashaAllah. To learn. And also for dinner, why not? But that's later. To learn, to benefit, to see each other. طيب, how many intention can you have by just coming to the masjid? Over 100. Coming to see your brothers, coming to benefit, coming to pray in jama'ah, coming to sit and talk about Allah and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, come to listen to the words of Allah and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, walking to the masjid for the great reward, making increasing the Muslim community and spreading the sunnah and the words of Allah, a lot of reward. But coming to the masjid to show off, or to come to the masjid so people could say, MashaAllah, he's in the first row, MashaAllah, good brother. This is what you will waste your time and you'll waste your reward. أذكر لكم ابن الجوزي, and I like to mention it everywhere. Just to end with it, inshallah, it took longer. Ibn al-Jawzi, rahimahullah, mentioned في أخبار الحمقى والمغفلين, one of his best books, one of the books that you could benefit or read in your free time, inshallah. He said one person was praying in the masjid, and look at the difference between someone who's coming and who's doing work. There's a lot of people, by the way, they're doing work for the masajid and for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you will never think of. Nobody sees them because they're dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're dealing with Allah alone. Therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed them. We had a sheikh, or يمكن الشيخ يعني طبعا Sheikh Muhammad Omar Abdul Latif, rahimahullah, one of the great scholars of hadith. But the Shaykh was very humble, very quiet, and not a lot of people knew about him except people who study hadith and so on. But when the Shaykh died, subhanallah al-azim, people came from everywhere. And maybe this is the fruit of sincerity. So anyway, Ibn Jawzi rahimahullah mentioned, this person came to the masjid as a joke, you know. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us and bless us to have sincerity. So this person came to the masjid, and he's standing he couldn't find anybody in the masjid, so he faced the Qibla, Allahu Akbar, 2 rak'ah, for the sake of who? Allah. Well, started for the sake of Allah. Then he prayed, mashallah. So 2 brothers were sitting behind him. One of them said, oh, mashallah, you know, look at his salah, how he's standing firm in the salah. So the brother heard that. So he said, oh, mashallah, increase his salah more. So the salah that takes 5 minutes, maybe he went 10 minutes. He kept standing and so quietly and khushu'. So the brother said, oh, mashallah, look at him, you know, I've never seen someone like that. Then he went to the ruku'. So they said, wow, look at the ruku', straight back. And so the brother said, mashallah, that's good. He went to the sujood, same thing. The sujood had 5 minutes, or ruku' 5 minutes. They are talking. The second rak'ah, he got up and he's so quiet. He's listening, nobody's saying anything. They finished. So he turned around in the salah and he said, I am fasting too, brothers. Bismillah ar-Rahman. Well, he moved from what? Oh, salah is over. He talked in the salah. He moved from the level of sincerity, the level of being with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to a level of show off. This is why we need to get away from that. So having good manners, you will have Allah's love, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. You will have Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's love. You will be closer to Rasulullah in paradise. You'll be among the people, or the most who enter paradise are the ones with good manners. You will stay away from hellfire. It will make your scale weigh more and higher, and you need every single deed that you could get in the day of judgment when you stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Having good manners, wallah, will fix not only you, but the society around you. If everyone have that in his heart and fix himself and purifies himself, then inshallah, not only that you will benefit, but everyone around you will benefit. Humans, animals, plants, everything. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us good manners, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to purify our soul from arrogance and from pride. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us to learn and benefit from the sunnah of our beloved Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to follow his steps. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to follow the Quran and the sunnah of Rasulullah. ويعني أعتذر للشيخ وأنا أريد أن أقول كلمة قبل أن أختم قالها أحد التلاميذ للإمام النووي رحمه الله، فقال في دار الحديث معنى لطيف كنت أصبو إليه وآوي لعلي أمرغ وجهي يوما بمكان كان يمسه قدم النواوي. فيعني أنا صدقا I came all the way here والله to visit Sheikh Walid, and all I ask is to listen to him, and now Jazallah khair out of his humbleness. And I don't like to praise someone in his face or in front of him, but wallah, this is a blessing to talk in front of Sheikh Walid, and I thank him so much, and I thank all of you for giving me that opportunity to share some things with you, and inshallah may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you knowledge and grant all of us knowledge. Allahumma ameen. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.